Hey guys, welcome back. We are here to talk about all the books that I read in November. I really apologize for the light because we are filming at night and night happens a lot sooner these days. I managed to extend this little discussion a bit longer than anticipated because it's fairly short, because technically I binge read a series and then I read one other book to talk about. So I managed to binge read the first 3 books of the Inheritance games. So there's the Inheritance games, the Hawthorne Legacy, and the Final Gambit. And I know there is now a 4th book in the series, and then I think there's a novella when I looked it up. First of all, I absolutely loved this series. I had so much fun with it, and clearly I binge read all 3 of these books in the last month. So this was a really great way to just keep up that momentum. They're highly addictive, they're easy to read, they're fast-paced. So I actually heard about these from my older sister, and as soon as she told me about it, I was like, I know I have to read this one. Anyways, let's go ahead and summarize this up. So this series is about a girl named Avery Kylie Grams. Her mother actually had recently passed, and so she has been living with her sister. She is told that she has inherited something and she needs to fly out to the Hawthorne mansion for the reading of the will. It's also been said that they have been looking for her everywhere. They could not track her down, and so she's kind of swept up and doesn't really have time to ask many questions. She's just flies out there and she's like, well, who the heck is this? Because she's a minor, her sister does end up going with her. But yeah, she is completely clueless about who this person is. She starts kind of piecing together some things that her mom had maybe alluded to, like maybe this person had something to do with her mom, who she can't even ask. But she's really struggling to put the pieces together, and she's just hoping that like it'll all get sorted out when she gets there. So when she gets to the mansion, she's escorted to one of the rooms, and there's a bunch of other people standing around. Some of our most primary characters are going to be Sky and Zara. They are Tobias Hawthorne's daughters. And then there are 4 boys: Nathan, Grayson, Jameson, and Xander. And they are the grandchildren. When they read the will, she's thinking, okay, I didn't know this person, maybe they're gonna give me like a couple $1,000s, right? But no, she ends up getting the entire $1 billion fortune with some stipulations. So in a split second, her entire life is just completely flipped upside down. Tobias Hawthorne, the grandfather, the person who just passed away and bestowed her all of this, he loved puzzles, and he raised his grandchildren, I think, and his children as well, to solve these puzzles and riddles and go on these scavenger hunts. So they've been raised with this kind of mentality their whole lives. And even the house itself is like this giant puzzle, like not really a giant puzzle. It has puzzles everywhere, secret passages built into the house, and little Easter eggs everywhere. And I was a little afraid that we wouldn't get to see a lot of that. When they first introduced it, I was like, this is so cool. And I was a little afraid that like as the story would go on, that we wouldn't have as much of that. And it continues throughout the story, I will say that. So even after his death, Tobias Hawthorne has left everyone these different games and puzzles to solve. As they go around solving some of these puzzles, it starts to lead them all to discovering some secrets of the Hawthorne family. And some of these secrets are very dark, and they're so interesting, and it's so well done. It's very complex in the ways that the puzzles were designed. Sometimes I would say my only gripe is sometimes it's almost like they come to the solution of how to solve the puzzle like right away, almost a little too easily. But that can be forgiven because it does, like, if they were to like get stuck or hung up on a puzzle for very long, it would really slow the pace overall down. And that's one thing I really valued about the series, is just the quick pace. So that's something that's 100% forgivable. It didn't go unnoticed. It was also very well researched as far as legal matters go. Obviously, we're dealing with will and testament law and different things about inheritance, even just the way that like any kind of will or testament is going to be hung up in the courts to be processed for some time before it's just handed over. And so I thought that that was also very well done. It was also very believable and realistic in all the ways in which Avery's life had changed. I really wish that I could point out a few things, but I just can't. Like, you have to discover it on your own. Of course, there's a couple things I didn't care for a whole lot, but again, they're easily overlooked just because, again, just the whole series was just such a treat. I will go ahead and mention them, especially for people who really do not like this trope. It's a love triangle, and I actually love triangles. I actually really do. I feel like it really ups up the drama aspect of it, and but I didn't really like it, and I think I didn't like it for other reasons, which I'm biting my tongue so hard right now because I wish I could talk about it in detail, but you have to like discover it on your own. But if you want to talk about it, absolutely message me. I do get my messages really quickly, so absolutely go ahead and message me and let's chat about it. I guess as far as like the way the relationships kind of develop quickly, I guess is somewhat realistic because, I mean, we are talking about younger kids, teenagers, and, you know, relationships and feelings for each other do kind of develop more quickly and intensify a little bit more. I personally don't think that it was overdone at all, but there was just a thing about it that, if you know, that just irked me out really, really bad. And thankfully there's so much else going on. There's not a lot of, they don't have time to really dwell on this relationship too much. It's just kind of mentioned. It's kind of like, oh, well, we also need to have a love interest in order for the story to be a little bit more interesting. And so it's kind of like they kind of just shoved it in there. It's easily like, you're not going to be bogged down with it too much, I don't feel like. So, because as I said, there's a lot of mystery and a lot of puzzles and action constantly happening. I didn't care for much was the ending. And I mean, I guess I'm really wondering how other people found the ending, because I got hung up. Not that it's not a good ending in like the scheme of things, but to me, it's just so unrealistic that I didn't care for it that much, because I don't think that any person ever would have done that. There's a different side of it, which I also feel is actually kind of fucked up, to be real. I guess I'm just wondering what other people made of the ending, and I really wish I could talk about it. I almost feel like I should do like a spoilery video, or maybe even like a short or something, that like if you haven't read it, you don't have to watch that video, just to like get it out there, because I want to talk about it so bad. I did, however, think that there was no way I was going to pick up the fourth book or finish the series, because for me, I felt that this series is over. However, I literally was at the store today and I picked up the book and I started reading the back of it, and I was like, oh, wait a minute. This isn't about Avery at all. This is going to be about Grayson and Jameson. I like that we're going in a completely different direction with that story. I would think so. So I might have to read it at some point, but I just don't want to read it right now. I'm happy and satisfied where I'm at, and I want to kind of switch gears a little bit and work on some other things. I do think I want to read the next one. So the last book that I read was A Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches, and this book was so adorable. It was so cute. There was a part of me that was like not going to read it just because I thought that it was going to be a lot like those cookie cutter contemporary romances where, you know, girl meets boy, boy falls in love, it's all about their love story, and then everything else is just kind of second fiddle. This was not like that at all. It was so much more than a romance. In fact, the romance was just a smidge. It was like the icing on the cake, because everything else was so interesting. Very Secret Society of Regular Witches, which is a mouthful of a title. It's about this girl, and I'm drawing a blank of what her name is. I apologize. This main girl, she is a witch, and she lives in a world where witches are secret, and there's not a lot of witches. She does have one witch named Primrose, which there's like a society of, there is like a secret society of witches, and she sometimes is summoned to meet Primrose. Primrose actually kind of raised her and taught her how to like use magic and control her magic and stuff. But for the most part, witches live in isolation, because too many witches in one place starts to get attention, and they do need to like stay under the radar. So our main character ends up starting a YouTube channel, and she does like witchy things, but it's supposed to be like, oh, kind of fake. However, like they're not supposed to actually know that any of it's real. She gets a message one day that they need her help, and something about it draws her there, and she's like, well, let me just go see what they have to say. So she goes out to this house. They don't give her a lot of information at all. So the fact that she's there is like a miracle. So she goes out there, and she realizes that this household, like regular humans, have 3 young witches who they don't know how to train them, and their powers are getting out of control. And I think they have someone coming to evaluate them or something. So they do have like a time frame in which they need to get these girls like their powers under control. This is just a very like volatile situation, and it's really dangerous to have so much power in one place. So she does agree to do this. I feel like it's so hard not to give too much more information out. Yeah, this ended up being so much more than I expected. It's mostly about found family, and you fall in love with all of the characters. And our main character learns a lot about herself and a lot about life, and how like despite her upbringing, maybe that's not the only way to live her life. There is a romance, but it's like my favorite kind of romance, because it is so subtle and it is so sweet, and it doesn't dominate the rest of the story. As I said, it's just like the icing on the cake. There is a lot of magic that gets played out on the page, and it's really fun and it's really quirky. There's just a lot of like random quirky little things that just make it an overall real treat. So that is wobbling. I'm sorry. I have my little tripod on a whole stack of books on a wobbly table, so I'm sorry. It was an amazing month, and I loved everything that I read, so I couldn't really hope for much more. Next month, I have 2 books that I'm reading. One of them I have lost somewhere. I had brought it in from the car, and I set it down somewhere, and now I don't know where it's at. But anyways, it is actually from a TBR jar video that I'm doing, and it's called Death in the Family. So there's like a video going around that book that you can look forward to. And then the other one, I don't have the dust jacket on it, but it is The Sword Catcher, which I am this way through, but I think I'm gonna go ahead and not entirely start it over. I'm just kind of, I actually haven't picked it up since the beginning of November, because I started binge reading this other series. So I just want like a little bit of a refresher. But I'm also planning on doing a vlog of the reading experience of this book as well. Beyond that, everything else is as much a mystery to you as it is to me. I have not made any other plans of anything else I'm going to be reading over the month. We do have Christmas coming up, and I don't want to like mentally have this stack of books that I feel like I need to rush through the books I'm reading. to make sure that I read everything in that month. There's one other book that I would like to maybe squeeze in, or at least start it, whether or not I finish or not, and that is a book called Yevgeny Onegin by Alexander Pushkin, and that is because the girls who do the like classic dark academic book club, they call it something else. Oh, Game of Tomes book club now. They've changed it this year. They're reading that book for this month. Oh my god, I'm drawing a blank on names today. I've just heard that it is the most beautiful, gorgeous book in verse, and I want to see if I like it too. So I might try to squeeze that one in a little. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon. Bye.